Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. U.S. President Donald Trump warns of new tariffs on countries opposing Greenland's takeover, says Arctic island is vital to U.S. national security. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says air defense supplies insufficient. U.S. and Ukraine to hold talks in Miami. U.S. Department of Justice investigates Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey over alleged obstruction of federal law enforcement operations. And in the ICC Under-19 Men's Cricket World Cup, India take on Bangladesh in Bulawayo. U.S. President Donald Trump said that he may slap tariffs on countries that do not support his Greenland takeover plans as U.S. Congress members visited Copenhagen to give their backing for Denmark and its autonomous Arctic island. A U.S. bipartisan congressional delegation is on a two-day visit to Copenhagen to voice support for Denmark and Greenland. The delegation said that the U.S. president's long-held territorial ambitions were not shared by the American people. Europeans have also been showing their backing for Greenland in a military reconnaissance mission. However, U.S. president said that the United States is talking with NATO about Greenland, repeating his assertion that the Arctic island is vital for U.S. national security.
And I may do that for Greenland, too. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security. So I may do that. I'll give you a little, I'll take you out of that. In fact, that'll end up being the story. But actually, this is a much bigger story because we're reducing healthcare by numbers that you haven't seen.
Trump's comments come amid heightened tensions between Washington and European allies over Greenland and autonomous territory of Denmark. Several NATO members have recently increased their focus on the Arctic, citing concerns about growing Russian and Chinese activity in the region. The White House has said Trump's aim to take over Greenland would not be affected by the European military presence, though Arctic Command has invited the U.S. to participate in Arctic Endurance, which will test forces in winter conditions this year. Denmark allocated an Arctic defense package of $6.54 billion in 2022 in response to rising security concerns. The head of Denmark's Joint Arctic Command in Greenland said the focus is on countering potential Russian activity, not defending against U.S. military threats.
When we look at the world situation with also the superpowers that compete for the moment, we look into the world and we can see when the war in Ukraine is over, hopefully with a good results for the Ukraine, it is our expectation that that Russia will use some of the resources they have used in Ukraine. They will use them in other theaters, and that is also in the Arctic. So we will actually expect an increase of Russian activities in the upcoming year.
The U.S. Justice Department is investigating Minnesota officials, including Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, over an alleged conspiracy to impede immigration agents. The investigation stems from previous statements made by Walz and Frey about the thousands of immigration and customs enforcement officers and Border Patrol agents deployed to the Minneapolis region in recent weeks. Reacting on the news of investigation, Walz said the justice system was being weaponized. Both officials, along with other Minnesota Democrats, have denounced the ICE operation and Good's death and accused Trump of intentionally fomenting chaos. While U.S. President Donald Trump said that there was no immediate need to invoke the Insurrection Act over protests against immigration raids in Minnesota, a day after threatening to use the law. Amid the escalating row between Trump and Minnesota leaders this week, the president threatened that the drastic measure that would have allowed him to deploy the military to police the protests. Minnesota's most populous city has seen increasingly tense confrontations between residents and federal officers since Good was shot on January 7th by an ICE officer. The shooting came a day after Trump administration announced the deployment of 2,000 immigration agents to Minneapolis. In a latest update in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Friday that he hopes Ukraine will sign agreements with the United States next week on a plan to end Russia's conflict. Zelensky said that Ukraine had completed its part of the work on the documents outlining a prosperity package to unlock money for Ukraine's costly post-conflict recovery, as well as on U.S. security guarantees designed to stop a future Russian attack. Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S., Olha Stefanshina, said that senior Ukrainian officials would take part in the bilateral talks on the two key agreements on Friday in Miami. She said that the purpose of the visit is to refine these agreements with the American partners. Ukraine's delegation will include the head of Zelensky's office, Krylo Budanov, Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, Rustem Umerov. Meanwhile, President Zelensky in his evening address said that Allied supplies of air defense systems and missiles were insufficient, and it was crucial that partners heard Ukraine's requests for additional supplies.
Окремі завдання сьогодні для ППО, для військових. Зараз
We are preparing for next week so that the meeting in Davos are productive and right ones. Clear substance is needed. The substance of the meeting and the substance of the documents. This is definitely not the time for loud and empty statement or for formal meetings. There must be a result for real people, for Ukrainians, for all Europeans, and for Americans. Peace is equally needed by everyone. Real security is needed by everyone. Normal economic development is also needed by everyone. And all of this must be reflected in relevant documents we are preparing, including together with the American side.
Зміст зустрічі.
Moving on to Gaza peace plan, where U.S. President tapped Secretary of State Marco Rubio and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair as founding members of the Gaza Board of Peace. Trump also named his special envoy Steve Witkoff, son-in-law Jared Kushner, and World Bank President Ajay Banga among those on the 7-member founding executive board. Trump himself will chair the board, while further members would be announced in the coming weeks. Trump had announced the formation of the Board of Peace on Thursday, a key Phase 2 element of the U.S.-backed plan to end the war in Gaza. The board's creation comes shortly after the announcement of a 15-member Palestinian technocratic committee charged with managing the day-to-day governance of devastated post-war Gaza. The plan's second phase is now underway. The 6th ASEAN-India Digital Ministers meeting was held virtually on Friday, reaffirming the shared commitment of ASEAN member states and India to deepen cooperation in the digital domain. The meeting deliberated on key issues aimed at strengthening regional digital cooperation with a focus on digital inclusion and integration. At the meeting, India reaffirmed its strong commitment to ASEAN-India digital cooperation, saying that they are working collectively to narrow digital divides, strengthening infrastructure, and ensuring that digital transformation serves as a force for inclusion, resilience, and economic growth. Emphasizing the transformative role of artificial intelligence, India outlined its India AI mission with a strong focus on safe and trusted AI, and expressed readiness to collaborate with ASEAN on AI, capacity building, standards development, and practical use cases. In Nepal, the Election Commission has outlined 3 main grounds for providing legal legitimacy to the Gagan Thapa faction. The Commission has awarded party symbol and name of the Nepali Congress to Gagan Thapa on the grounds that there is a mandatory provision that allows 40% of members to demand a general convention and requires that a convention be held accordingly. According to the party statute, general convention representatives are the highest representatives. Moreover, no one expressed dissent regarding the demand for a special general convention. Meanwhile, Sher Bahadur Deoba faction has opposed the Election Commission's decision, saying that they would protest against it and move to the court. NASA officials said that Artemis II, the first crewed mission to the moon since the Apollo era more than 5 decades ago, is moving closer to flight as the agency prepares to roll out its rocket and spacecraft. At a press conference in Cape Canaveral, Chief Exploration Scientist Jacob Bleacher said Artemis II is a test flight that will include a wide-ranging research campaign to study how both spacecraft systems and humans perform in deep space.
Our integrated research campaign for Artemis II builds upon what we learned in Artemis I, and it sets the stage for successful exploration of the moon and ultimately onto Mars. Our campaign will help us understand the space weather that we'll face during future lunar missions, how to observe the moon and communicate with the support teams here on Earth, and in general, how we will react to, survive, and thrive in that deep space environment. Therefore, I like to say that Artemis II science is the science of us. Artemis II science is the science of humankind.
The Artemis II mission unfolds as President Donald Trump has reaffirmed the U.S. goal of returning humans to the moon by 2028 and outlined broader plans to strengthen U.S. space security, keeping the moon at the center of American space policy despite years of development delays. You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. The ceremonial at-home invitation for Republic Day 2026 is more than just an invite. We'll tell you how. The UN High Seas Treaty officially enters into force today. And in a historic first, Britain to host the Grand Depart for the 2027 edition of Tour de France.
Welcome to the fascinating world of Daman and Diu and Dadra and Nagar Haveli. Unravel the rich history and traditions of these places. Marvel at the stories that lie in its beautiful architecture. Bask in the tranquility of its greenery and beaches. Experience the agelessness of its traditional handicrafts and handloom industry. Recognize its industrial leadership and celebrate Diu's commitment to a sustainable future.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will begin his 2-day visit to Assam and West Bengal today. In West Bengal's Malda, the Prime Minister will dedicate and lay foundation stone for various rail and road projects. On Saturday, PM will flag off India's first Vande Bharat sleeper train between Havra and Guwahati. The Indian Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone and flag off various development projects in Hooghly. The Prime Minister will also flag off 7 Amrit Bharat trains, boosting rail connectivity of West Bengal with other states. Later on Saturday, Prime Minister will be in Assam, where he will participate in a historic cultural event celebrating the rich heritage of the Bodo community in Guwahati. On Sunday, PM will perform Bhumi Pujan for Kaziranga Elevated Corridor Project. The 86-kilometer-long Elevated Corridor Project is an environmentally conscious national highway project. The project aims to improve regional connectivity while ensuring protection of the park's rich biodiversity. Prime Minister Modi will also flag off 2 new Amrit Bharat Express trains to strengthen rail connectivity between the northeast and northern India. The National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, has designed the prestigious at-home invitation for the Republic Day reception at Rashtrapati Bhavan, showcasing the rich craft heritage of the northeastern states. Here's more.
The ceremonial at-home invitation for Republic Day 2026 is more than just an invite. It is a tribute to India's living craft traditions. Designed by the National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, the invitation kit highlights the artistry of over 350 artisans from 8 northeastern states of India. Commissioned by Rashtrapati Bhavan, the project brings together traditional crafts from Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim and Tripura.
Some of them, like this Monpa, Honorable Prime Minister mentioned in his Mann Ki Baat. So, and understanding their process, we developed some small pieces which can go along with the theme, overall theme. And this has been presented once we got the go-ahead, then the mammoth activity started. So, in this case, since it is a Northeast, all the product been done in their respective cluster. Almost more than 350 artisans have been worked in this for 45 days.
Bamboo, a material deeply rooted in the region's ecology and culture, forms the core of the invitation design. From woven bamboo covers and scrolls to handcrafted ornaments and textiles, each element reflects sustainable practices and indigenous knowledge systems. The invitation kit has a unique bamboo wall hanging scroll that unfolds to reveal handcrafted artifacts representing each state.
We are making invitation kit which represent India's craft and culture, which are more than 5,000 years old. And through this one initiative where the invitation kit, the Honorable President Office shown that how government can visualize the invitation kit which represent Bharat, thought process in Bharat, the history of Bharat.
The invitation kit features iconic crafts such as Lepcha nettle weaving from Sikkim, green bamboo weaves from Meghalaya, the Gogona bamboo joha from Assam, cane and bamboo jewelry from Tripura, rare wild fiber textiles from Nagaland, Ponchai hand-woven textiles from Mizoram, and long pea black pottery from Manipur. The project was developed through extensive fieldwork and coordination with remote villages in the northeast.
ये कंचनजंगा माउंटेन का एक रूप है, तो ये लेप्चा कम्युनिटी का एक थॉट प्रोसेस है कि वहाँ पे उनके कंचनजंगा की स्नो से आया हुआ पानी से वो कम्युनिटी बनी हुई है, तो उसका ये एक सिग्निफिकेंस है.
Handloom weaving, central to everyday life in the region and a major source of livelihood for women artisans, is highlighted through a hand-woven textile belt attached to the invitation cover. As India prepares to celebrate its 77th Republic Day, the at-home invitation stands as a tribute to the Ashtalakshmi states.
A showcase of India's northeast, its indigenous craft, tradition, and also a legacy which is completely displayed in this invitation kit, and something also that people who receive this will be cherishing or probably will be seeing it on their walls once they receive these invitation kits. With camera person Lakshman Rajput, this is Meghna Dev, 40 Day India from Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
The UN High Seas Treaty enters force this month after 60 nations ratify the pact. It protects marine biodiversity beyond national waters. For the first time, nations will work under a common legal framework to protect fragile ecosystems, safeguard endangered species, and ensure ocean health for future generations. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya has filed this report.
The world is set to take a historic step towards protecting life beyond national borders. The High Seas Treaty, formerly known as the Agreement on Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction, PBNJ Agreement, will enter into force on January 17, 2026, after receiving 60 ratifications. Covering nearly two-thirds of the world's oceans, the high seas have long remained beyond effective regulation. The landmark treaty aims to change that. The agreement focuses on conserving marine biodiversity in international waters by enabling the creation of marine protected areas, regulating activities like deep-sea mining, and ensuring sustainable use of marine resources. It also promotes fair sharing of benefits from marine genetic resources and strengthens environmental impact assessments for activities in the high seas. For the first time, nations will work under a common legal framework to protect fragile ecosystems, safeguard endangered species, and ensure ocean health for future generations. As climate change, pollution, and overexploitation threaten marine life, the High Seas Treaty marks a turning point in global ocean governance. January 17, 2026 could well be remembered as the day the world united to give the high seas a fighting chance.
With High Seas Treaty coming into force, nations take decisive steps to protect the marine life beyond borders. The agreement promises stronger conservation, shared responsibilities, and sustainable use of ocean resources. With camera person Vishwabandhu, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
A digital exhibition titled Bharat on the Move concluded at the Parliament House complex on Friday. It offered a comprehensive and immersive portrayal of India's remarkable journey of democracy and development. Through advanced digital installations and audiovisual narratives, the exhibition highlighted how India has progressed from ancient times to a modern global power. A major highlight of the exhibition is the detailed presentation on the construction of the new Parliament building. The two-day exhibition was held during the 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth. On to sports news now. In the Under-19 Men's Cricket World Cup, India will take on Bangladesh in their second game in Zimbabwe's Bulawayo. Earlier, India got its campaign underway with a 6-wicket victory via Duckworth-Lewis method against the USA after bundling the opponent out for a paltry 107 runs in a rain-hit match on Thursday. The star-studded Indian batting lineup will hope to get an extended run at the crease against Bangladesh, which is likely to pose a greater challenge to the Ayush Mahatre-led side. Champions in 5 of the 16 editions, India is by far the most dominant team in the history of the competition, which started back in 1988. On to badminton. The Indian challenge at the India Open 2026 concluded on Friday as Lakshya Sen suffered a hard-fought quarter-final defeat in New Delhi. Facing Chinese Taipei's Lin Chunye, the 24-year-old Indian started strong by taking the opening game, but eventually succumbed to a 21-17, 13-21, 18-21 loss. Despite the home crowd support, Sen could not replicate the form that saw him win the Australian Open last November. With his exit, India hopes for a title on home soil have officially ended. Sen will now look to regain momentum ahead of the upcoming European leg of the BWF Tour. And in a historic first, Britain will host the Grand Depart for the 2027 edition of the premier road cycling event Tour de France. The occasion will mark the first time that both men's and women's tours will start in the same nation outside of France. The men's opening stage will begin on July 2nd, working its way from Scotland's capital Edinburgh to Carlisle in northwest England. Meanwhile, the women's tour underway on July 30th from Leeds will head through the Peak District to Sheffield before the final stage in London. This also marks the third time the men's race has visited Britain since 2007, when the Grand Depot was staged in London. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates from India and the world. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.